Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we are having a little bit of a mess around with this Magnum car, trying to get a couple more bits and bobs done on this. We did have a little bit of a mishap. If you caught the last episode, we did have a little bit of a fire there. Things got a little bit interesting with that. Didn't cause any damage to any of the wiring or anything, so not too bad really, but again, was a little bit scary with some flames coming out of there. Basically, it spat some fuel out of the car, which then caught a light. So today, we're going to be changing these plugs and the plug leads. I did put some temporary plugs in there last time, just to try and get this thing started. It did run very briefly, didn't run it for long at all, but we did get a bit of a note out of it, and the engine sounded pretty good, to be fair. There wasn't any banging or knocking or anything like that. So we're going to be dropping the oil on this. I have ordered a timing belt, but that hasn't come yet. So we've got plugs and leads and some other bits and bobs to be doing on this. And also I'm going to be removing the tow bar off the back end, and trying to get access to the fuel tank. I want to get that fuel tank removed to get it cleaned out, because it's probably going to be completely rusted out inside. Obviously this car has been sat since 1987, so I'm assuming that that fuel tank will be full of gunk and rust and all sorts of stuff. We've got some packages here with our bits in, the plugs and leads and stuff like that, so we're going to be opening them, getting them put in the car, and then hopefully we can try and get this thing running again if the fuel tank's okay, because we don't know the condition of this tank yet, so we get it off. I'm hoping it's not got any big holes or anything like that in it. We did get the coil done last time as well, and we managed to get it sparking. When we got this car originally, it wasn't sparking at all, and that was due to a couple of issues. The points was corroded and there was no feed going to the coil. We did eventually get a feed to the coil, and we found this lock in the door was actually an immobiliser, so we bypassed that. We then got a 12 volt feed to our coil, but we still weren't getting a spark, so we replaced the coil, cleaned the points up, and then we got this thing sparking, and as I say, we did get it running very briefly. These fuel pipes are going to want replacing. I do have some new fuel holes as well that I can use, and worst case, if the tank is corroded and for whatever reason we can't use that tank, I can always start to get it running out of a fuel can for now. Now, as I said previously, again on the last episode, this car will be attending the restoration show at the Birmingham NEC on the 21st till the 23rd of this month, which is only just over a week away, week and a half away. It is going down there and going on the VBOA stand, which is the Vauxhall Bedford Opel Association. So the guys from the VBOA have asked if they can take this car down there and put it on their stand, just as an unrestored survivor car. So I've obviously said that's not a problem. We do work quite closely with the VBOA. They are good friends of ours, so I've no issues with that at all. So if any of you guys would like to see this car in person, get yourself down there to the Birmingham NEC on the 21st to the 23rd of March. Again, this will be on the VBOA stand. I will be down there with my brother on the Sunday. We're just having a day down there. We will be over there with the guys from the VBOA. So if you want to come over, say hello, have a look around the car, please feel free to come over and have a chat. Right guys, so let's get cracking on. Let's get these plugs and leads changed, and let's start working our way into that tow bar, and then let's get this tank off. We are going to start by removing this fuel tank. Now before I can get the fuel tank off, you might notice that there is a great big whopping old tow bar in the way. So I'm going to have to remove this tow bar before I can drop the fuel tank, and the bolts look pretty rusty. So I've just put some loose juice on it, as they call it. This is a free sample I got by a local guy called Alan's Alchemy. It's the first time I've used this stuff. This is just a sample bottle he dropped in, so I'll let you know how we get on with this. Again, this isn't a paid promotion, it's just something a gentleman dropped in, so I thought, yeah, we'll give it a whirl. So I've sprayed these up with some of this loose juice. I'll let that soak for a little bit, and then we'll get the buzz gun on there, see if we can get this tow bar off.
Yeah, but no, back up. Next. No, what the freak? I don't fucking do it. Yeah. There we go.
Right, so let's get this powder all blown away from the fire extinguisher before we start, so I don't really want to get covered in that stuff. Airline blower on here, just give this a quick dusting off. Right, okay, let's get these plugs out. Take this mask off now. Fidgety to get to these plugs in this. They're on a bit of an awkward angle. There's not much room between the plugs and the inner wing. One out. Two. End of the HT lead stuck in that one.
You got your electric bike over yourself. Definitely.
How did that go? It's number 3. And the HT is stuck on this one as well. She is. Okay. Let's get rid of those. So we have our new plugs. Perfect. Okay, let's get these in. Last one. The plugs in. Start looking at these leads. These are new leads, nothing fancy, just some standard leads for this. Hoping they will be right and the correct length. Let's have a look. measure these up. Not far off. Could be that one. That's going to be our king lead. That's the king lead. Let's see if any of these are better size. No. Right, so we'll go with that one for our number one. Swap these over one at a time so we don't lose our firing order. Lovely. Put a few on there. Lovely. Got two lead. Pipe's really brittle as well. I'll have to change that. That should actually be number three. I think that lead was in the wrong spot there, guys, because I'm pretty sure the firing order on these is 1, 3, 4, 2. So that with that one. Number 4. Obviously going to be the longest one now. Do that one. Lastly, this one. There. King lead. As you can see, guys, these leads are just falling apart. Okay. Right, so I've just popped a spare plug into the lead here. Now we've changed these plugs and leads. We're just going to check we still have a spark. It might go a little bit blurry, this, guys, because I've got to zoom in from quite a distance because this is the closest I can get my tripod. So it might go a little bit blurry, but hopefully you'll be able to see if this gives us a spark. Okay, so it does spark. That's a good start. So plugs and leads done. Next I'm going to move into this carb. I'm going to take this carb off, strip this down, get into the fuel bowl in the bottom. We'll pull the jets out and we'll see what sort of gunk is hiding in there. Just get a bit of the old loose juice on these bolts, these nuts and linkages, just to help us out a little bit, because these have been on a long time, so they are quite rusty. Throttle cable first. Choke. There we go. Don't want to lose that. I'm going to clip that back on for now. There we go. Right, that's that off. Down there out of the way a minute. Those back on there so we don't lose them. Some of these are going to be quite difficult to get at. This one ain't too bad. That one ain't too bad. This one looks like a bit of a... It's not too bad actually. Get these two awkward nuts off, and then we'll disconnect our fuel pipe before we remove the final two bolts. Drop the washer down there. I'll have to find that down there somewhere. Ah, there she is. Is my screwdriver magnetic, I wonder? Oh, I just can't get it in. They always land in the most awkward places, don't they? Aha! Right, next one. Let's get this awkward one off here at the bottom. Let's see this fuel pipe undoes now. Some pliers on that end. Oh, this is coming apart a lot easier than I was expecting it to. Expecting a lot of this to be seized solid and snap, but so far so good. I think what I might do here as well, guys, I'll probably end up taking the fuel pump off and just manually activating it and see if it's manually pumping it, and just seeing if it actually pulls any fuel up. Take this end off as well. Oh, I can smell that old fuel. Hate the smell of old stale fuel. Nasty. May as well disconnect this one as well, and then we can get our pump off if we wish to. There goes all that old fuel. Yeah, there we go. Nasty stuff. That is 1987 fuel right there. I can tell you, it doesn't smell great at all. Right, okay, let's have these last two bolts off. And hopefully this carb should then pull off. Right, here we go. Ooh, that's tight. A bit of a tap. There we go. One carb removed. Let's get it on the bench. Let's have a look. Loose. Oh, that's tight. Oh, there we go. That was quite corroded. Put a couple of screws back in there, guys, till I release that from out the bottom. It's moving around a little bit on me. Let's see what we've got going on in here then. Oh, you know what? That's surprisingly clean. Surprisingly clean in there. Indeed. A little bit of junk in the corner, but on the whole, it's not bad at all. That's pretty damn good. These are not going to be fun, these are already partially rounded. Oh no. There we go. Good old mole grips. That one's tight. There we go. I have to see about some new screws for these because they are rounded off pretty badly. Got them all moving anyway. I need to put a bit of oil back in there. Diaphragm looks surprisingly good as well. Well, I'm actually quite surprised how clean that is in there. Even the butterfly and everything's quite clean too. We'll have to make a new gasket for here. Slits to the back. That's a little bit nasty. We'll give that a cleaning up. So give that a bit of a cleaning up. That's a lot better. Light, very light smear of oil. Start to clean this body up. I'm just going to go and give this a quick scrub, guys. Back in a minute. Right, so we give that body a quick cleaning up. It's nothing special, guys. It's got majority of the stuff off. Again, we're not going for a full nut and bolt restoration job on this car. We just want to make sure that the inside of this is clean so that the fuel can pass through unrestricted. So if somebody wishes to buy this car once I've finished doing what I'm doing with it and wishes to do a full nut and bolt restoration on it, by all means they can clean this up until their heart's content. But for now, guys, we just want to get this thing running and driving and mechanically sound, so that will do us for now. So let's start cleaning out some of these jets. I'm going to give some of these jets a quick cleaning up, make sure all the ports are clear, and then we're going to make a new gasket for the base plate, and then hopefully we can get this bolted back on. Guys, so that is our carb now back on. I didn't want to bore you with it all going back together. You're seeing it come off, so I've just lobbed that back on there. That's all gone back together nicely. We've put a new gasket on there as well, just on the base plate between the carb and the inlet manifold. I could have stripped this down further. I could have literally took it to pieces, but judging what was in there, it looked very clean. I was actually quite surprised how clean it was in there. So again, we're not going silly with this car. I just literally want to get it running and driving. So that should do us for now. I'm hoping that should be fine. As long as we can get this to run and it passes fuel through, I'm happy with that. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to take this fuel pump off and we're going to see what this looks like inside. I'm going to pump this manually by hand and see if it starts to move any fluid, so at least we know that pump works and the diaphragms and everything inside are operating. Once we know that's pumping fluid, then we can bolt that back on and know that that's going to work and it is actually going to suck fuel up. And what we're going to do then is probably pipe this up into a can rather than taking it from the tank, because the tank's going to need quite a lot of work. The fuel pump is off, as you can see in there. It's pretty nasty. So I'm going to give this a quick scrubbing out, give it a right good cleaning up, and then we'll test it and hopefully it still works. This is the kind of stuff what's coming out of here, guys. Ugh. Look at that. That's nasty. Not entirely sure whether we're going to be able to save this, but we'll give it a go. That's bad. So we managed to get our carb somewhat rebuilt. We've cleaned it out. Again, we could have put new gaskets and stuff in this, but I just want to get this car running. Once we've got it running, this is pretty easy to get back off, so we can always take this back off at a later date and put new seals and stuff in this, or even look for a new carb or even a manifold with a twin set of carbs. So what I've done here, I've also cleaned the fuel pump out. Now, we're not running this pump at the minute because obviously the fuel tank, as I've explained, is contaminated with quite a lot of rust and stuff. So we've just put a temporary pipe up here to a fuel source. Now, you'll notice that this fuel is blue. Now, this has got a little bit of two-stroke oil in there, basically just to help with a little bit of lubrication because this engine hasn't run for a very long time. So this will just help lubricate those bores up a little bit with a little bit of two-stroke oil. So it's not a massive mix, just a little bit of Punterline two-stroke in there. I've also got some cheap oil, just some 1540s. Now this will be put in the engine once I've dropped the oil out. What is in there at the moment, we're dropping the oil out and just putting this stuff in, basically just to flush the engine out. So once I know this engine starts and runs under its own steam, we can then put this stuff in there, run it up for a couple of minutes, flush this around the engine, and then drop the oil out again just to give it a good bit of cleaning up, and then we can get the correct grade oil for this car, redo that, and then obviously do the timing belt and some other bits and bobs as well. So not entirely sure what's going to happen here, guys. As you know, last time we did try to start this car, it did have a little bit of a fire, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen tonight. We do have fire extinguisher on hand, so I'm going to give this a couple of spins. I'm going to put a little bit of fuel just down into the carb in there, just to help it fire up, hopefully, just help it along a little bit and get that fuel down its neck. So let's give it a whirl, guys. Let's see what happens. Well, very, very surprised how easy that started, actually. I think that little bit of fuel we sprayed in there helped that along a little bit. I'm just going to give it another quick flick over, see how easy it starts now. It's had a little run for 30 seconds or so. Let's see if it flicks straight back up. So there we go, guys. She's alive after 37 years sat in a garage, and I've got to admit that engine sounded pretty good as well. There's no rattling, no knocking, considering it's still on the old oil. And again, I don't want to run it for too long on the oil, but I just want to make sure it does run before we put the fresh oil in, which we have down there, which again is just to flush the engine out. Once we flush the engine out, we can then put the correct oil in it, start going through everything, like the belts. It's going to want a full set of gaskets and seals, and the engine's going to want taking out and completely going through. I mean, like I said, this car has been sat for 37 years, so it's going to want full overhaul mechanically. Also, these heater pipes are going to want replacing because, as you can see there, they've just gone really brittle, absolutely rock hard. So all that sort of stuff's going to want changing. Obviously, new fuel pipes. I do need to take the tank off, get that cleaned out, see if it holds fluid, and make sure there's no big holes in the tank. If the tank's good, we can then run a new fuel line down there and actually feed it from the tank. I would like to see if this car will move under its own steam. Just select a gear, see if it'll drive. Obviously, again, the clutch is going to need doing and all that sort of stuff, but just out of curiosity, really, and just to make it easier to move around in the workshop, would be nice to be able to start this up and drive it in and out the garage rather than pushing it. So one thing I did notice is there is a bit of oil that was dripping down here, going onto the exhaust manifold, causing a bit of smoke. Now, it doesn't appear to be coming from the rocker cover gasket because the head, top part of the head, is dry. It looks like it's coming out the base of the head, so we'll assume that is the head gasket that's allowing some oil to pass through there. And again, it's going to want doing. Head gasket's going to want doing. Every gasket and seal on this engine's going to want changing. So, but yeah, we've got it running, guys. Carb was cleaned. We've cleaned the fuel pump out again, but we wasn't using that. We're just running it out of a bottle. But I have manually operated this by hand and put some fuel in there, and it did pump. So that pump does work, which is again good news. So yeah, really happy with that. We can now start to go through this and move along through the process. So yeah, really impressed with that. I would like to go through all the lights, get all the lights working on this car as well. We have tested the lights and some of them do work, some of them don't. I'm just assuming it will be bulbs at this point that it's going to need. So that should be quite simple, quite straightforward. Again, this car is going down to the restoration show at the Birmingham NEC from the 21st to the 23rd of March. It will be on the VBOA stand, which is a Vauxhall Bedford Opel Association. Get yourself over there if you want to come and have a look at this. I will be down there on the Sunday with my brother. If you want to come over, have a chat, ask some questions, feel free to do so. More than happy to answer any questions and have a good old chat about any of the cars, whether it's this one, that one, the recovery truck, or any other car that we featured on the show so far. Feel free to come over and ask some questions, guys. It'd be nice to have a chat with you all. So it is getting on a bit now, guys. It's pushing on for 11 o'clock at night. So sadly, that is all we're going to have time for in this episode. That is quite a good result. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I hope you're enjoying this build so far. 37 years sat in a garage and it's finally up and running and sounding pretty sweet. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, give us a share, drop us some comments, let us know your thoughts, let us know what you think. We'll see you all on the next episode, guys.